So, hello everyone, welcome to AZ-104 certification series where we are going to have a basics to advanced understanding on AZ-104. I will help you to understand the basic concepts related to Azure and an approach which will be best suited to clear the AZ-104 examination. Towards the end of this series, we are also going to discuss some practice questions related to AZ-104. But before we begin, let us get going with the AZ-104 understanding. So before we start, let's have a look at the official course curriculum. So you just need to search AZ-104. The first Microsoft link is what we have opened here. And this particular examination, Azure Administrator Associate, is an administrator role specific examination and has a renewal frequency of 12 months. That means once you have given the examination and you got the certification, towards the expiry, that is 1 year after clearing the certification, 60 days before the expiry, you will get a renew button in your certification profile or portal where you have to renew the examination. I will also tell you how to book the examination towards the end of the series. Now, here you can see there are certain suggestions where you can redirect yourself to preparation for the exam. As AZ-104, we must have a candidate who have basic understanding on virtual network, storage, compute, identity, security. That is a prerequisite from Azure. But if you're not aware about these things, we will also take a basics to advanced approach. So we will be first discussing and understanding what is cloud, and then we will be moving forward on how we are going to leverage this public cloud to understand the various topics of identity, compute, storage, etc. As we scroll down, this is the self-learning path given by Azure. So if you open the self-learning paths, there are certain prerequisites. The first topic that is covered is about identity and governance. So this is a detailed series and understanding where you can see all the official topics being mentioned here with documentation and certain videos and certain self-help along with an examination towards the end of each module. So here you can see if we get started on the first topic, which is what is a Microsoft Entra ID, we can click on an introduction. You can read these topics. Next, you can move on to the topic of Microsoft Entra. Then we have certain topics here. Then the comparison between Microsoft Entra ID and ADDS. And then finally an assessment. The moment you complete this assessment, you will get certain XP points. So this is a 200 XP point uh, module assessment. You need to sign in your opening through our same account, and we are trying to sign in. Please make sure whenever you are doing module assessments, you do the sign in so that all your track records are assessed in your profile. So this is my profile. I will click on next, and this is the name that I have it going. You have to select certain features. So I'm from India location. I'm selecting India. Next, these are the enrollments. So here is my Microsoft training and certification profile. So here you can see you can click on your profile. This is my profile where you can track your activities. Whatever trainings you have completed, you can track it from here. Just click on training. So if you have completed certain trainings, it will appear here. In the credentials section, you have certification section. If you have completed or cleared any certification, it will appear here, and the same renew option will also appear in the same tab. So here you can see certain XP points are there. So as you complete certain modules, those XP points will get added here. If you complete a certain modules, you have that recorded in the activity sections as well. So here you can download your transcript, which is a full identification of how many learning paths or modules you have completed along with the certifications that you hold. So this is a quick tour on how you can get going with your account. You can use the same account which you are using for portal login, or you can create your own personal account where you are going to track your training and certification related stuff. So we will be closing this. I will revisit to the same site. So we have seen this self-learning path is about how to get you started or get you prepared. Then we have the practice assessment, which is a similar exam type environment, which will help you to get ready or get familiar with how we have the examination environment. Then we have the experience demo, which is nothing but a sandbox environment where you can go for certain interface, similar interface related to the examination. In this way only we have the timer running, you have to agree the terms and then you proceed ahead. Now when you scroll down here, you can see we have some prep videos which is very important for all of you to watch before you actually appear for the examination. We have separated this in different modules, like we have managing Azure identities and governance. Then we have certain topics related to management of storage, compute resources, virtual networking, and monitoring and maintaining the Azure resources. So here is your trainer, Sarah Kong, which introduces you to the first topic of Azure identity and governance. If I revisit to the same site, you can also visit the exam syllabus. So you can book your examinations, click on schedule exam, select your country, and you will be again redirected to your profile through which you can book your exam. There is a study guide which is about what are the topics related to AZ-104 which we are going to cover in the certification. So here you can see we have the 5 module distributed. The first module is about identity and governance. The second is about storage. Then we have Azure compute resources, implementing and managing virtual networking, monitoring and maintaining the Azure resources. If we talk about the first module, managing Azure identity and governance, these are the topics that we have within them, like how to create a user, how to attach licenses, how to manage external users, what is self-service password reset, how we have the built-in roles, that is the RBAC role assignment. Then we have the Azure subscription and governance, which is more about Azure logs, policies, and tax related concepts. Then we have the second module, which is about storage, which covers a weightage of 15 to 20 percentage in the examination. Here we discuss about how to access the storage, how to configure the SAS tokens, what are stored access policies, and identity based access for Azure file share. Then we have management of storage account, where we discuss about features related to storage account like redundancy, replication, and encryptions. Then we discuss about the second type of storage that we have. Since it is a consolidated service, we have blobs, we have files, we have queues, we have tables. So we are going to have an overview on the files as well, and some features around that like soft delete and lifecycle management policy. Then the third module is about compute resources, which is more about whatever compute resources that we have on the Azure portal, such as how we can automate the deployment using the ARM templates and Bicep templates, how we can configure the ISC template using ARM. Then we have configuring of virtual machines, which is about how we can create a virtual machine in the environment, how we can spin up certain features related to the virtual machine like availability zone, availability set, sizing, disk, and how we can provision containers. So always this is an important point, that now containerization is asked, but Kubernetes is not a part of your examination. So here we have the content related to container registry, container instances, container apps, right? So the basically ACI is discussed, Azure Container Instances, and ACA, that is Azure Container Apps, are discussed. Then we have the another type of compute service in the PaaS category, which is app services. So how we can have the application deployment, how we can customize the DNS, how we can configure the backup for app services, network settings, and deployment slots. The fourth module is about virtual networking, which is very important module, and it is interconnected to the virtual machine concept as well. So here how we can launch our resources within the virtual network. First of all, understanding what is virtual network. So before we get started on virtual network, we will understand what is IP, what is segmentation, what is subnetting, what is supernetting, and how we set up the whole IP infrastructure within Azure, right? And then understanding what is public IP, what is network peering, what are subnets, and virtual network. So also we will be seeing the concepts related to security on virtual networks, on how we can make our virtual networks more secure, that is through network security groups and bastion connectivity. So we also have to discuss endpoints, private endpoints, service endpoints, through which multiple questions are asked in the examination. We have the concepts related to a DNS. So we will be seeing Azure DNS and load balancers. And the fifth module, which covers a weightage of 10 to 15 percentage, is about monitoring and maintaining the Azure resources. So within monitoring and maintaining the Azure resources, we are going to discuss the properties related to Azure Monitor and Azure Backup. So in Azure Monitor, we will be understanding how we query or analyze the logs, how we set up the alert rules, action groups, right? How the alert rules processing happens, how we can set up Azure Network Watcher and connection monitoring for our benefit and understand whatever logs are being captured. We in the backup and recovery, we discussed about Azure backup service. So we spin up recovery service vault. So here we can create a Azure backup vault, create and configure backup policies, perform backup, study about Azure site recovery, which is again very important. See, now in the AZ-104 scope, ASR is discussed, but as you get started with different projects, most of the organization have migration projects in which they set up different migration environment, which is backed by ASR. Like if you have a Hyper-V environment, so if you want to migrate that from the on-premises through Azure, then in those environments, we have it backed by Azure site recovery. So, we are going to cover these five modules to complete AZ-104 certification, post which, understanding all the concepts, we are going to revisit the questionnaires. I will make you prepare on more than 100 questions on how to get a hands-on onto AZ-104 examination. So, before we go ahead, I hope you have the basic idea of the cloud, what is public cloud, what is private cloud, and also what are the offerings from the Azure related to cloud, like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. If you are new to cloud, please make sure to watch our next video, which tells about the basic infrastructure on to cloud, post which we will get started with our first module, which according to our official course curriculum is about Microsoft Azure identity and governance. So we will get started with Azure Entra. So keep watching, keep supporting. Do like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to watch certain series, and we will help you clear all the Azure related certifications. And trust me, it is coming from a Microsoft certified trainer. So we will make sure that we are in line to the official course curriculum provided by Microsoft, and we go ahead with that approach only. So if you are preparing to upskill, if you are going looking ahead to clear examination, if you are trying to scale up within your organization, so this is the right move to get started with this course. So keep supporting, and see you in the next video. Thank you.